Kurtop here, and these are the 100 most mysterious ancient civilizations in history. $1 million. Who will decipher the ancient script? The script of the ancient Indus Valley civilization remains unsolved to this day. Recently, Indian official Muthuval Karunanidhi Stalin offered $1 million for their decipherment. According to Hindustan Times, this impressive reward should inspire archaeologists, linguists, and cryptographers. The head of the state of Tamil Nadu recalled that after a century of research, no one has made any progress in understanding these mysterious signs, supposedly related to the Tamil language. The strange symbols of the Indus civilization, found back in the 1920s by Sir John Marshall, remain an unsolved mystery. It was then that Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were excavated, but the key to their script has still not been found. A mystery in the Amazon jungle. Padre Carlos Crespi Croce, an Italian missionary who spent most of his life serving in Ecuador, became one of the most enigmatic figures of the 20th century thanks to his extraordinary collection of artifacts. Working with the Shuar tribes in the Ecuadorian jungle, he acquired many ancient objects that some researchers believed could be evidence of an ancient, highly advanced civilization, and perhaps even contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Crespi's collection included strange metal plates engraved with symbols reminiscent of ancient writing, figurines depicting creatures with unusual features, and objects that many described as technologically sophisticated. Of particular intrigue were metal reliefs depicting creatures with elongated skulls, stars, and scenes reminiscent of space travel. Interestingly, there were no known civilizations in the region that could produce such complex items. Rumors about the collection spread after some visitors, including researchers, claimed to see evidence of extraterrestrial influence in it. Some of the artifacts were said to be made of metals that could not be identified. Crespi, however, was not looking for fame. He claimed to accept these items from local tribes in exchange for aid and food. The collection's connection to extraterrestrial civilizations becomes even more interesting when considering the mystery of the tunnels beneath Ecuador that are the subject of legend. The tunnels, known as the Teos system, are said to contain a library of metal books. Some theorists suggest that these tunnels were a base for an ancient race, possibly of extraterrestrial origin. The Crespi collection could have been part of these treasures. Unfortunately, after the death of Padre Crespi in 1982, the collection was destroyed by fire or stolen, and its fate remains unclear. What do you think? Could a missionary become the custodian of traces of an ancient space civilization hidden in the Amazon jungle? Spanish Stonehenge. This amazing megalithic monument, known as the Spanish Stonehenge, is located on the banks of the Tagus River in Spain. Its age is estimated at about 7,000 years, which makes it 2,000 years older than the famous Stonehenge in England and older than the Egyptian pyramids. The complex consists of more than 100 vertically installed granite stones, forming a circle and ellipses. Officially, this object is called the Guadalperral Dolmen, and its purpose still remains a mystery. Scientists suggest that it could have served as a place of rituals, a temple, and possibly an astronomical observatory. The stones are arranged in such a way that their orientation is related to the position of the sun at certain times of the year. This confirms that the ancient builders had a deep knowledge of astronomy. For a long time, the dolmen was underwater due to the construction of a dam in 1963, and only a recent drought allowed archaeologists and researchers to take another look at this amazing object. What inspired ancient people to create such a grandiose structure? Ancient city in an oasis. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of an ancient city over 4,000 years old in the Khaybar oasis in northwestern Saudi Arabia. The city, called Al-Nata, was founded around 2400 BC and consisted of about 50 houses, designed to accommodate about 500 people. The city was surrounded by a powerful wall 14.5 kilometers long, which probably protected its inhabitants from raids and harsh climate. Interestingly, Al-Nata was preserved thanks to a basalt layer that protected the ruins from destruction. The discovery was made possible by observations from above. The structure of the city walls and buildings hidden underground was visible from the air. Al-Nata became an important evidence of the transition of the region's inhabitants from a nomadic lifestyle to a settled one. Previously, scientists believed that at that time this territory was only a desert, unsuitable for life. However, finds in the necropolis, including metal axes, daggers, and agate items, indicate a high level of development of crafts and technologies. Skeleton Lake. Hundreds of human skeletons have been found at the bottom of Rupkund Lake in the Indian Himalayas, earning it the nickname Skeleton Lake. The skeletons vary widely in age, and it is still unclear how they all died. Previously, it was thought that they could have been the victims of a single disaster, such as a powerful storm that killed a large group of people. Recent research has only complicated the mystery. Scientists analyzed the DNA of 38 bodies found and found that the remains belonged to people from different eras, thousands of years apart. These people arrived at the lake at different times, disproving the theory that a single group died en masse. The research began a decade ago when geneticist Kumarasamy Thangaraj of the Indian Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology sequenced the mitochondrial DNA of 72 skeletons. Some were of Indian origin, but some of the remains belonged to people with DNA typical of Western Europeans, particularly Crete and Greece. Interestingly, the time range of these finds also turned out to be varied. Most of the bones date back to the 7th to 10th centuries AD, but among them there are also remains dating back to the 19th to 20th centuries. The causes of death of these people remain unclear, which adds to the mystery of this place. Skull 270 million years old. A fossilized skull belonging to an ancient ancestor of amphibians has been discovered in the collection of the Smithsonian University's National Museum of Natural History. Its approximate age is 270 million years. Scientists describe the skull as a new species of proto-amphibian named Kermitops gratis after the famous Muppet, Kermit the Frog. One George Washington University student emphasized the importance of using popular names to draw attention to scientific discoveries. He noted that the name Kermit is ideal to describe the ancient amphibian, connecting it with modern representatives of this class of animals. The skull was found by paleontologist Nicholas Houghton during field research in Texas, in an area known as the Red Barrels. This area, dating back to the early Permian period, contains many fossils, including the remains of ancient reptiles and amphibians. After its discovery in 1984, the skull lay in museum collections for decades until it was examined by Arjan Mann, who singled it out from other specimens for detailed study. The joint efforts of researchers helped establish that the found skull belongs to a new genus of ancient amphibians. Underground City. The Jirsin Cave, located in Saudi Arabia, is an important archaeological site demonstrating the important role of lava tubes in the lives of our ancestors. This 1.5-kilometer lava tunnel, which arose as a result of volcanic activity, served as a refuge for people for 7,000 years. An international team of archaeologists has discovered numerous objects here that tell about the life of the ancients. Fragments of clothing, processed wood, remains of stone buildings and tools, presumably used for household purposes, were found. Archaeologists also came across animal bones, which could be either food waste or part of burials. A study of the remains shows that the diet of the cave inhabitants was rich in protein, but over time the proportion of plant food from nearby oases increased. The caves were also used by pastoralists as temporary shelter during transitions between oases, facilitating trade. This hypothesis is confirmed by rock paintings depicting livestock. Russian pyramids. If you haven't seen it in person, you've probably heard about the greatness of the Egyptian pyramids on the Giza Plateau. This architectural ensemble, which has delighted the world with its splendor for centuries, is considered one of the most monumental. But Russian researchers have proposed an alternative, pointing to the existence of even older pyramids in Russia, covering areas from the Kola Peninsula to the Black Sea. The first discovery of such pyramidal structures occurred on the Kola Peninsula in 2001. The dating of which indicated an age twice that of the Egyptian counterparts. Subsequent discoveries confirmed the artificial origin of these pyramids, built between 9,000 and 40,000 years ago. In 2010, researchers discovered another ancient pyramid, indicating similar construction techniques to Egyptian and Chinese structures. In the Krasnoyarsk region is Sopka Chernaya, an extinct volcano nicknamed Pyramid for its triangular shape with man-made masonry, discovered in 1993. In Rostov-on-Don, there is the Sanctuary of Arius, a unique structure that predates the Egyptian pyramids by 1,000 years and was built according to the principle of the golden ratio. Crimea is especially rich, where in 2001 7 pyramids were found located in a line between Sevastopol and Foros, supposedly 2,000 years older than the Egyptian ones. Their architecture is reminiscent of Tibetan and Mexican pyramids, indicating the existence of an ancient, advanced civilization. It's hard to believe that the Egyptian pyramids are not as ancient as we were previously told. Also, such finds confirm that the Egyptians were not the first to create such grandiose structures. Until now, humanity is racking its brains and trying to understand why people in ancient times built pyramidal structures all over the globe. Aluminum wedge. The Aiud aluminum wedge, also known as the Aiud object, is one of the most mysterious and controversial finds of our time. According to various sources, it was discovered in 1973 in Romania on the banks of the Mureș River under a layer of sand about 10 meters deep next to the bones of a mastodon. The main reason for the conspiracy theories surrounding the Aiud aluminum wedge is that it is made from aluminum, a material unknown to mankind before the 1800s. While the wedge is believed to be around 10,000 years old, the composition of the wedge includes 89% aluminum, 6.2% copper, 1.8% zinc, and other elements. Aluminum production requires temperatures of 1,000 degrees, and mass production began only in 1885. The wedge is covered with a thick layer of oxide, the age of which is estimated at 300–400 years. After the discovery, the object was transferred to the Archaeological Institute of Cluj-Napoca for research, but the dating method was not specified. The basis for the theory of the extraterrestrial origin of the wedge is its aluminum composition. Romanian ufologists Florin Georgita and other researchers consider the wedge to be evidence of extraterrestrial activity in the past. However, there are also scientists who consider the find to be a fake, the purpose of creation and origin of which remain unclear. Since 1995, the Aiud wedge is no longer on public display and is kept in an undisclosed location, although there are photographs confirming its existence. Bagazin Pyramid in Kazakhstan. In 2016, in the wide open spaces of the Karaganda region of Kazakhstan, archaeologists discovered something incredible: the Bagazin Pyramid, a stepped structure that may open a new chapter in Turkic history. This construction, belonging to the Scythian Saka culture, is part of the Bagazi Dandibayev civilization, which flourished in the Bronze Age. The pyramid, rising on Karazardas Hill on the left bank of the Tal-di-Nur, just 90 kilometers from Karaganda, became the last refuge for the leader of the local nomads. Research has shown that its age ranges between the 12th and 14th centuries BC. Artifacts found inside speak of the turbulent history of the steppes, from metal exports to religious rituals, which together lead us to the emergence of statehood in these places. The proto-urban settlement of Kent, near which sacrificial altars were found, indicates deep connections with the Karasuk culture and even with ancient Mesopotamia. Ancient buildings from pre-Columbian times. The ancient secrets of the Amazon continue to unfold before us despite their centuries-old mysteries. Modern technological methods are beginning to reveal the extent of the ancient civilizations that once existed in this place. Using modern Lidar technology, which uses light to measure distance, researchers Vinicius Peripato and Luis Aragao, in collaboration with photographer Diego Gurgel, made a startling discovery. They were able to discover over 20 earthworks created by ancient indigenous people, which until then had gone unnoticed. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Scientists suggest that there may be another 10,000 to 24,000 similar structures hidden in the depths of the forest. According to research from Brazil's National Institute of Space Research, indigenous people have inhabited the Amazon basin for more than 12,000 years. However, the full extent of their presence and interaction with nature has not yet been studied. Diego Gurgel, who took aerial photographs, helped reveal stunning geoglyphs, huge geometric shapes buried in the forest. Bimini Road. Have you ever heard of Atlantis? In the middle of the 20th century, the soothsayer Edgar Cayce said that the remains of this mythical city would be discovered near Bimini in 1968 to 69. And what do you think? In 1968, off the coast of Paradise Point, researchers discovered 700 meters of neatly stacked limestone blocks that are now called Bimini Road. Archaeologist David Zink claims that these are man-made megaliths. Gavin Menzies, author of 1421, The Year China Discovered America, believes that these are traces of the shipwreck of Chinese sailors. And other scientists say that these are just natural formations. So which one is right? New Maya City. In the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, scientists have discovered a stunning find, a forgotten city of the ancient Mayan civilization, which is over 1,000 years old. In the Balamku Reserve, a team of archaeologists found a city on 50 hectares of land. Imagine, it's like 70 football fields, and there are many buildings here, including 5-meter-high pyramids and even a ball field. They named the city Okumtun, which means stone pillar in the Mayan language, and all because a lot of columns were found there. This city was an important site for the Maya about 1,000 years ago. Okumtun was found thanks to aerial laser scanning. But the most interesting thing in this city is the Mayan sports scoreboard. At the archaeological site in Chichen Itza, they found a large stone circle where hieroglyphs were engraved, and next to it was an image of a football match. The Maya not only built pyramids, but were also fans of sports. Atlantis at the bottom of the Caribbean. June 5th, 8,500 years ago, time 1 p.m. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a mountain-sized asteroid crashes into the Earth. Boom! And its 5 billion tons heat the waters of the Atlantic to a boil. According to one scientist from Germany, this is how the death of Atlantis happened. A lost civilization, which they say was flooded by waves of a giant shaft as high as Mount Everest. The crash site is now called the Bermuda Triangle. Previously, scientists thought that Atlantis was somewhere in the Caribbean near the island of Bimini. They said that the Atlanteans were so smart that they even knew how to create crystals of fire for energy. But it seems that one of these crystals exploded and led to the death of civilization. Skeptics, of course, will say that all this is nonsense. But what about the numerous underwater finds, such as strange pyramids and marble buildings? The Holy Grail of the Nazis. This artifact has become increasingly popular over time, especially in the context of research into the esoteric beliefs of the Nazi regime. It is true that a number of senior Nazi leaders, including Himmler, were interested in the occult and mystical traditions. However, it is necessary to understand that most of the information on this topic is based on myths and guesses. However, there is a version that the Nazis were actually looking for the Holy Grail in the hope of using its mythical properties for their own purposes. In combination with archaeological expeditions organized by the Ahnenerbe SS Research Institute, this version becomes even more interesting. Some historians claim that one of the goals of Nazi expeditions to Tibet and other regions was to search for relics, including the Grail. However, there is no clear evidence for this. There is also an opinion that the Grail could be located in southern France, in the Cathar region, and that the Nazis carried out excavations there. This myth has been further inflated by popular culture, especially movies and books. A number of works depict Nazis pursuing sacred relics, including the Grail, to gain supernatural power or justify their ideology. Scientific and historical research on the topic proves that while the Nazis were indeed interested in the occult and mysticism, most of these claims are based on myth. However, the idea that the Nazis may have been searching for the Holy Grail has become one of the most recognizable and disturbing themes in modern pop culture. Bactrian gold, Afghanistan. In the heart of Afghanistan, at the crossroads of ancient civilizations, one of the most impressive archaeological treasures of the 20th century has been discovered: Bactrian gold. This amazing find, consisting of more than 20,000 gold objects, was discovered in 1978 by archaeologist Victor Sarianidi. These treasures date back to the 1st millennium BC and belong to an ancient people who lived in the region of Tillya Tepe in northern Afghanistan. Jewelry, coins, figurines, and many other pieces of art reflect the fusion of different cultures, from Greece and Rome to China and India. Jewelry attracts special attention. Tiaras, earrings, necklaces, everything is exquisitely decorated with precious stones and inlaid with the finest gold wire. Among the images on the jewelry, you can see panthers, deer, dragons, and many other mythical creatures. Interestingly, after its discovery, the treasures were considered lost for a long time due to political instability in the region. But in 2003, they were found in the safe of the Afghan Central Bank. Today, this treasure serves as a reminder of the rich and multifaceted history of Afghanistan and its place in world civilization. Pyramids of the Stone Age in Eurasia. In Kazakhstan, near the village of Tokhtamis, archaeologists have discovered a stone pyramid. The pyramid is hexagonal and dates from the early Bronze Age around 2000 BC. Animals, especially horses, are depicted on the walls. These drawings and the bones of horses nearby speak of a cult of horses. In addition, they found ceramics, gold earrings, and other jewelry. This suggests that the pyramid was a cultural center in ancient times. Lost fortress in the Sahara. In the 17th century, among the endless sands of the Sahara, a mysterious ancient fortress was discovered. Scientists who examined the find were stunned by its complex architecture and the unusual technologies that were thought to have been used in its construction. According to the records of that time, the fortress had unique features: massive walls carved from an unknown but incredibly durable material, and complex water systems, the level of which was nothing like it in the known history of mankind at that time. This gave rise to speculation that it could have been built by representatives of an unknown, highly developed civilization, or even with the help of alien technology. But before scientists could study and document this amazing find in detail, the fortress was again buried under thick sand due to a sudden storm. Since then, its exact location has remained a mystery. Despite many expeditions trying to find the fortress, it was never discovered again. This case has attracted the attention of many researchers and mystery lovers. One can only guess what secrets this lost fortress holds. Could it really have been created using technology superior to our own? Or is it proof of the existence of a forgotten ancient civilization? Are these finds really 300 million years old? From time to time, miners find strange artifacts in coal seams that appear to have been created by intelligent beings. This poses some awkward questions for science, since the age of these rocks is estimated at 300 million years. How could objects that were clearly made by hand get there? After all, at that time, the Earth was inhabited only by giant insects and the first reptiles, and there was no talk of people, dinosaurs, or even advanced technologies. However, the finds continue to amaze us. In 1912, an iron pot was extracted from a coal seam in Oklahoma, and in 1851, a zinc and silver vase was discovered in Massachusetts, the rock of which is 534 million years old. A metal rod similar to a rack made of aluminum with an admixture of magnesium was found in Russia. Its origin is even more mysterious. Aluminum was discovered only in 1825, and the age of the coal in which it was found exceeds 300 million years. Scientists have found that the metal is saturated with carbon, which confirms its incredible age. But if so, who made it? Some believe that these finds are traces of a vanished civilization that existed long before us, but was wiped off the face of the planet by a global cataclysm. Others suggest that the objects could have been left by aliens or even time travelers. Skeptics, in turn, are sure that this is a hoax or dating error. There is also a theory that coal was formed not millions but only a few thousand years ago under the influence of deep gases and pressure. If so, then the artifacts may not be so ancient at all. Ancient cemetery of trade caravans. Archaeologists have made an important discovery in the Negev highlands, a 2,500-year-old ancient burial site that sheds light on trade routes of the ancient world. The artifacts found confirm that the region was an important hub linking southern Arabia, Phoenicia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. The excavations revealed the tombs of traders who crossed the desert, including merchants who carried frankincense, myrrh, and valuable goods. Among the finds were arrowheads from Yemen, jewelry, rare shells, and tools for processing frankincense. Of particular interest is the amulet of the Egyptian god Be. Its presence may indicate human trafficking in ancient times, as is confirmed by historical records of the Minites merchants from Yemen who acquired women in Egypt, Gaza, and Greece. The burial site is located at a strategic crossroads of ancient routes leading through the desert. Ancient labyrinth. Modern remote sensing methods give archaeology new tools for understanding the past. One striking example is the study of the area around Rujim el-Hiri, an ancient complex of stone circles northeast of the Sea of Galilee. This mysterious monument clearly shows how satellite images allow us to look at the landscape from a completely different angle. Scientists analyzed photos of the area within a radius of 30 kilometers and discovered numerous megalithic structures, massive circles with thick walls and mysterious flower fences near rivers. All of them, according to one hypothesis, could have been elements of irrigation, defense, or cattle pens. In addition, the images show mounds of different shapes and sizes. Perhaps these are burials or signal hills. No less curious are the results of geological measurements. It seems that the territory itself has shifted over the past millennia, which is why the hypothesis about the astronomical purpose of Rujim el-Hiri has come into question. Satellite images show multi-layered construction and archaeological palimpsest, where later structures were built on top of earlier ones. Such studies open the door to the distant past. By comparing satellite data, excavation results, and geophysical analysis, scientists hope to reconstruct a picture of the life of the ancient inhabitants of the Levant and better understand why they erected such monumental stone labyrinths and surrounded them with complex agricultural systems. The disappearance of the ancient civilization. 900 years ago, one of the world's largest civilizations, Cahokia, disappeared. New research has challenged the old theory that drought and crop failure were the cause. The Cahokia Mounds, located near modern-day St. Louis, were a thriving settlement with a population of about 5,000 people. By 1400, the site was deserted, and the reasons for the mass exodus remain a mystery to archaeologists. Archaeologists analyzed the soil of Cahokia, studying the carbon isotopes left behind by plants that grew during the mass exodus. The results showed that the ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 remained stable. This indicates that there were no significant changes in the local vegetation and does not support the version of crop failure. It is known that the inhabitants of Cahokia were inventive and may have had the skills to irrigate and store crops. They also had a varied diet, including fish, birds, deer, fruits, and nuts, which would have ensured their survival even if some food sources were lost. So why did they abandon Cahokia? Archaeologists suspect it was a long process caused by external factors. To better understand why, scientists plan to create a database of paleobotanical evidence and conduct experiments with growing ancient crops in controlled conditions. Altamira Cave. In the province of Cantabria, Spain, is one of the most famous caves with prehistoric art in the world. These polychrome cave paintings, which are between 15000 and 36000 years old, belong to the Magdalenian culture of the late Paleolithic. The walls of the cave depict realistic scenes of animals such as bison, horses, and deer, made with charcoal and natural pigments. In addition to the animals, there are also human handprints, which gives this place not only artistic but also deep symbolic value. The cave was accidentally discovered in 1868 by a local resident, Modesto Cubillas, but it gained worldwide fame thanks to the research of Marcelino Sanz de Sautuola in the late 19th century. His work helped convince the world that these works of art were created by prehistoric man, because for a long time scientists believed that these drawings were modern. The Altamira Cave offers a unique insight into the art and life of ancient people. The complexity and expressiveness of the drawings testify to the advanced culture and creativity of the primitive artists. Access to the original cave is currently restricted to preserve these unique works, but there is a museum nearby with an exact copy of the drawings, allowing visitors to experience the grandeur of this ancient gallery. The mysterious disappearance of an Inuit village. In November 1930, a hunter named Joe LaBelle, well known among the local Inuit tribes, went to a small fishing village on the shores of Lake Angikuni in northern Canada. The village was known for its hospitality, and LaBelle expected to spend the night there, warm up, and communicate with the locals. However, to his surprise, he found the village completely empty. All the dwellings were in their places. Personal belongings, tools, and even prepared food remained in the houses, but there were no people anywhere. The hunter's greatest horror was caused by the dogs. Local sled dogs, abandoned on a leash, lay dead from hunger. This was especially strange since the Inuit always treated their dogs with great respect because they were indispensable for survival in the harsh climate. There were no signs of a fight, robbery, or natural disasters in the village. It looked as if the people had disappeared in an instant. The most mystical thing about this story is the disappearance of bodies from the graves. All the graves in the local cemetery were opened, and the remains of the deceased were gone. Joe LaBelle contacted the police, and soon a search operation began. However, neither the bodies nor any traces of the missing people were ever found. The story became public, and speculation and rumors began. Locals claimed that shortly before the disappearance of the village, they saw strange glowing lights in the sky that hovered over the lake. These reports gave rise to many theories, including the intervention of extraterrestrial forces. There are also suggestions about a mass migration of residents, perhaps due to a lack of resources or the impact of a mysterious epidemic. However, no traces of a mass exodus were found. Some associate this case with the Inuit myths about the Tunit spirits, an ancient people who, according to legend, could take people to the spirit world. Other explanations include mysterious atmospheric phenomena or even time portals. Almost a century later, the disappearance of the Inuit from the village of Anjikuni remains one of the strangest and most inexplicable mysteries in Canadian history, one that still excites researchers and mysticists today.
Prehistoric petroglyphs in a unique place. In the Italian Alps on Mount Pizzo Tricero, amazing prehistoric petroglyphs were discovered, recognized as the highest in Europe. These rock paintings were found in the summer of 2017 by a tourist, Tommaso Malinverno, who noticed strange carved figures on a rock at the foot of the Tricero Glacier in the Stelvio National Park. Archaeologists dated the petroglyphs to the Middle Bronze Age, that is, they are about 3,200 years old. The uniqueness of these finds lies not only in their age, but also in their altitude, more than 3,000 meters above sea level. This suggests that people at that time were developing high mountain territories. The drawings include figures of people with their hands raised to the sky, spirals, images of animals, and geometric patterns, the meaning of which is still unclear. In November 2024, another important discovery was made in the Lombardy region where the Stelvio Park is located. A 280-million-year-old fossilized ecosystem was found in the Orobi Valtellini Park. This confirms that the region is a true window into the past, combining paleontological and archaeological heritage.
Student discovers entire city. Mexican archaeologists have accidentally discovered an ancient Mayan city hidden in the jungles of Campeche. Tulane University research student Luke Old Thomas discovered the city called Valeriana while looking through Lidar data. This method maps objects beneath vegetation, and Old Thomas was able to see what had previously eluded other experts. The city of Valeriana, with an area of about 16.6 square kilometers, is impressive in its structure. Pyramids, sports fields, amphitheaters, and roads connecting neighborhoods have been found here.
Archaeologists believe that Valeriana was likely home to 30,000 to 50,000 people at its peak from 750 to 850 AD.
The city is second in density only to the famous Calakmul. The urban layout reveals a complex structure, two large centers with temple pyramids connected by a network of roads and residential areas, as well as residences and ceremonial sites. Even traces of water tanks have been found, indicating a thoughtful use of natural resources. This discovery confirms that tropical forests were not places where civilizations go to die, but could support rich and complex cultures. Professor Marcello Canuto notes that the use of LiDAR technology in the last 10 years has accelerated the discovery of new Mayan cities that were previously unknown.
The mystery of the Alak-Icom monoliths. In the south of Nigeria, in the state of Cross River, about 300 stone monoliths were discovered, created from the 16th to the beginning of the 20th century. These monoliths, arranged in circles and made of volcanic stone, surprise with their diversity. Their height varies from 0.3 to 1.8 meters. What attracts the most attention is the unique carvings on their surfaces, which include repeating patterns, stylized faces, and mysterious inscriptions that may be an ancient form of writing. The local Ekoi people call these stones atol or akwanshi. Distributed among 30 communities, the monoliths often form perfect circles, becoming the centerpiece of settlements or the decoration of forested areas. Made primarily of basalt, the monoliths also include limestone and sandstone specimens, all carved with distinct human features and symbols reflecting tribal affiliation. These monoliths carry a deep meaning associated with the cult of ancestors. According to local beliefs, each monolith symbolizes an ancestor whose soul continues to dwell in the stone, connecting the living with the spirits of the departed. This tradition maintains connections between generations and maintains respect for the history and culture of the Aiud people. However, the monoliths are surrounded by many mysteries. Their exact history, the meaning of the symbols printed on them, and the purposes of their use have not yet been revealed. Despite many years of research, ancient inscriptions on stones remain undeciphered, posing a challenge for archaeologists and historians. The monoliths are currently under threat from weather, erosion, and vandalism, making their conservation a global concern. Lost legendary Temple of Hercules found off Spanish coast. On the southwestern coast of the Iberian Peninsula, scientists from the University of Seville were able to find the ruins of the Temple of Hercules Gaditon, lost many centuries ago, a majestic structure where people came to worship from the farthest corners of the ancient world. Can you imagine how an ancient mythological hero can become the hero of modern research? Because this is exactly what happened to Hercules, who in Phoenician mythology is known as Melkart, the god and patron of navigation and the city of Tyre. Thanks to Lidar and digital modeling, scientists can study the underwater world in detail while remaining on land. Ricardo Bellison, one of the researchers at the University of Seville, suggested that the remains of a majestic temple may be hidden at the mouth of the shallow channel Cano de Sancti Petri. Marble and bronze sculptures of Roman emperors have been found here, as well as figurines from the Phoenician period, many of which can be seen today in the Museum of Cadiz. Scientists were able to identify a rectangular area measuring 300 by 150 meters, where the ruins of the temple itself may be hidden.
The mystery of the Antarctic monolith. In 2020, in a remote part of Antarctica, at a depth of more than 2 kilometers, researchers discovered a mysterious object which was named the Antarctic monolith. This object, which is a rectangular stone slab about 3 meters high and 1.5 meters wide, was found using sub-ice radar used to map the landscape under the ice sheet. The strangest thing began when scientists began to study the monolith. The surface of the stone was covered with complex geometric patterns and petroglyphs that were strangely similar to ancient symbols found in different parts of the world, including South America, Africa, and Asia. Analysis of the material showed that the stone has no analogs among the known rocks of Antarctica, which means that it came here from another place. In addition, the monolith had unusual magnetic properties. Instruments recorded a weak but constant magnetic field around it. Near the monolith, charred remains of organic material were found that scientists believe could be ancient plants or even remains of living creatures that lived millions of years ago. These organic materials, trapped in ice, could provide unique information about the ancient ecosystem of Antarctica when it was part of the supercontinent Gondwana. Some researchers suggest that this could be the trace of an advanced civilization that existed long before humans appeared. Others claim that it is potential evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings.
Jade Bowls. 1980s Ecuador. Adventure archaeologist Elias Sotomayor ventures deep into the jungle inspired by tales of a mysterious underground city. The city was never found, but Elias discovered amazing glow-in-the-dark artifacts that are over 18,000 years old. And here they are, forgotten in the corner, 12 bowls and a goblet made with incredible precision from difficult-to-process jade. It's a miracle, right? But it becomes even more interesting. Each cup is a perfect copy of the other, and they all exactly repeat the volume of the cup. But what if in those ancient times in Ecuador there were ultra-technological stone processing machines? And another cherry on top, each cup and goblet depicts a different constellation. Just imagine what level of astronomical knowledge their creators needed. And all this could be connected with the legendary city of the Red Sun, which, according to myths, was once here in Ecuador. Maybe our mysterious artifacts are all that is left of its inhabitants.
Taxila, Pakistan. Taxila, an ancient city located in present-day Pakistan, is one of the greatest archaeological sites in South Asia. This city was an important cultural, religious, and commercial center of antiquity, which flourished in the period from the 6th century BC until the 5th century AD. Taxila is known for its universities, which were considered among the first educational institutions in the world. Students from all over Asia came here to study various sciences, including medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. This place also played a key role in the spread of Buddhism throughout the continent. Archaeological excavations in Taxila have unearthed many temples, monasteries, stupas, and other religious buildings. Each of these buildings tells a unique story about the lives and beliefs of the people who lived here many centuries ago. Taxila was also an important part of the Silk Road, the highway linking east and west. This has resulted in a mixture of cultures and traditions, which makes this city exceptionally interesting to explore. Today, Taxila is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and continues to inspire scientists, explorers, and travelers from all over the world with its rich heritage and deep history. Sculpture of a winged deity. In northern Iraq, archaeologists made an amazing discovery, a statue of the winged deity Lamassu. Despite the passage of centuries and its majestic size, the sculpture remained almost intact. This 2,700-year-old alabaster monument represents Lamassu, a deity with a human head, the body of a bull or lion and bird wings, who lost his head. However, it was restored. The head is already on display at the Iraqi Museum in Baghdad. Customs officers seized it from smugglers in the 1990s. French archaeologist Pascal Butterlin, who led the excavations, noted the importance of his find, comparing its size with monuments in Egypt and Cambodia. The weight of the statue is 18 tons, and its dimensions are 3.8 by 3.9 meters. This grand centuries-old artifact once stood at the entrance to the ancient city of Dur-Sharrukin. It is known that it was ordered to be installed during the reign of King Sargon II in order to protect the capital of Assyria. Interesting fact, the statue was mentioned in documents of the 19th century but then disappeared from the attention of scientists for many years. Residents of the local village of Khorsabad eventually hid the rest of the statue to protect it from destruction.
Memorial marks on the bricks of history. The Mehrangarh Fort in Jodhpur is one of the most majestic structures in India, but its beauty hides dark pages of history. On the inner gate of Loha Pole, 15 imprints of women's hands are still visible, silent witnesses to the tragic tradition of sati. Sati is an ancient Hindu ritual according to which widows were supposed to burn on the funeral pyre of their husbands. Sometimes women did this voluntarily, but more often they were forced. This practice was officially banned by the British in 1829, but in India it continued until the 20th century. In 1843, after the death of Maharaja Man Singh, his wives left handprints on the wall before stepping into the fire. However, this is not the only case in the history of the fort. In 1731, 6 wives and 58 concubines of Maharaja Ajit Singh also committed suicide in the flames. Tragedies have been going on since the fort's foundation. In the 15th century, Saint Chidyawale Baba cursed Rao Yoda, saying his land would suffer from perpetual drought. To lift the curse, the king ordered a resident of Megwal, Rajaram, to be walled up alive within the fort's walls. But the curse still seems to be in effect. Maharajas have died here, tourists have fallen, and in 2008, hundreds were killed or injured during a stampede at the Chamunda Devi temple.
Fortress in the middle of the desert. The ruins of the ancient Berber Khazar Draya, lost in an ocean of sand dunes, are an amazing architectural monument and evidence of the life of people who developed desert territories. This Khazar, located in Algeria, was hidden under layers of sand for a long time, which allowed it to be well preserved to this day. Khazar Draya is a traditional fortified village typical of the North African region. It was built to protect residents and their property from raids and harsh desert conditions. The fortifications include massive walls and towers that not only protected the inhabitants, but also served as shelter from the scorching sun. The date of construction of the Khazar remains unknown, which gives it additional mystery. Modern technologies such as satellite imagery allow us to explore the ruins and their surroundings from above, opening a new perspective on the architectural heritage of the Berbers. Secrets of the Underworld of Agartha. The legend of the underground world of Agartha has always attracted the attention of those who sought hidden knowledge and secret civilizations. The Nazis showed great interest in the myth of Agartha, a supposedly deep underground state inhabited by an advanced civilization with mystical knowledge and advanced technology. It was believed that the inhabitants of Agartha could possess the secrets of immortality, energy, and world control, which interested the Nazi elite. Some Nazi ideologists saw in Agartha not only a source of ancient knowledge, but also a possible refuge for the elite of the Third Reich in the event of defeat on the surface. According to the theory, this underground world could provide a reliable shelter and create conditions for the revival of Nazi power. Legends claim that the entrance to Agartha was hidden somewhere in the Himalayas or other hard-to-reach regions of the Earth. Ananirba researchers obsessed with finding Aryan roots and ancient civilizations organized expeditions to different parts of the world, including Tibet and Antarctica, in search of an entrance to the underworld. Despite the lack of concrete evidence of Agartha's existence, the Nazis continued to fund these projects, hoping to gain access to mystical knowledge that could change the course of the war and increase their influence.
Pyramid of the oldest civilization. The Norte Chico culture, also known as Caral soup, is considered one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations of the Andes. It existed about 5,000 years ago and achieved significant advances in architecture, agriculture, and social organization. Archaeologists recently discovered a pyramidal structure about a kilometer from the sacred city of Caral Supa in the Sup Valley, Peru. The structure is a quadrangular building with a wide staircase leading to the top. Its walls are decorated with massive vertical stones, huancas, which may have had not only structural but also ritual significance. In addition to the pyramid, the researchers found 12 public and ceremonial buildings located around a central plaza of almost 39 hectares. This indicates the existence of a small urban center with administrative and religious functions. 3 platforms were identified in the pyramid, which indicates a complex architectural tradition of the Caral civilization. At the Chupatsigaro site, archaeologists also discovered a unique geoglyph, made in the Sechina style. It depicts a human profile and is likely associated with rituals reflecting access to the region's marine and agricultural resources.
Gobekli Tepe. This unique Neolithic complex in Turkey was inhabited between approximately 9,500 and 8,000 BC and belongs to the pre-pottery Neolithic period, making it one of the oldest known megalithic structures. The main feature of Gobekli Tepe are its massive stone pillars arranged in circular structures, which were created long before the advent of cities and agriculture. These stone pillars, up to 6 meters high, are decorated with intricate carvings, which testify to the highly developed culture of their creators. Among the carvings, you can see anthropomorphic figures, images of wild animals such as lions, snakes, and boars, as well as scenes that may have had ritual or symbolic significance. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that the structures of Gobekli Tepe were created by people who had not yet mastered the production of ceramics or the development of agriculture, which destroys traditional ideas about the development of civilizations. Gobekli Tepe was likely used as a ritual center where people gathered to perform religious rites. The discovery gave archaeologists new evidence that the organization of large ritual structures may have preceded sedentary life and agriculture, significantly changing the understanding of the development of ancient societies.
Strip of holes in Peru. In the Pisco Valley in Peru, there is a mysterious place known as the Strip of Holes, or Monte Sierpe. It is a narrow strip of land 20 meters wide and about 1,500 meters long, strewn with thousands of shallow pits. Their exact purpose remains a mystery, although scientists have put forward many versions. The site first became famous thanks to an aerial photograph by Robert Shippey, published in the 1930s in National Geographic. Archaeologists have long avoided Monte Sierpe. It was only in the 1950s that Victor von Hagen studied the pits and suggested that they were empty graves, and their total number is estimated at 5,000. Later, John Hyslop put forward a version that the pits were used as warehouses, similar to those found in other places in Peru. Each hole is about a meter in diameter and up to a meter deep. They are made in different ways. Some are dug into the embankment, others are surrounded by stone walls. Modern research, including a detailed map created with the help of drones in 2015, has shown that the strip of holes consists of 6,000 pits divided into blocks with unique patterns. Nearby are Inca roads and remains of storage facilities, and the pottery found indicates that they originated in the 15th century when the Incas conquered the Chincha people. Archaeologist Charles Stanish believes that the pits could have been used to measure agricultural tribute that local farmers gave to rulers. Other scientists, such as Jean-Pierre Protzen, believe that the strip of holes may be even older. He believes that the pits could have been used to store fertilizers, such as excrement. To this day, the strip of holes remains one of the most mysterious archaeological finds in Peru. Who, why, and how created it are still the subject of debate and new research. Lakshmana Temple, India. Among the ancient monuments of India, the Lakshmana Temple, a majestic sanctuary built in the 10th century in the city of Khajuraho, occupies a special place. This temple, dedicated to the god Vishnu, serves as a prime example of North Indian temple architecture. The appearance of the temple is striking in its elegance and detail. The stucco work on the facade depicts various episodes from Hindu mythology and also represents the life of the people of that era. Particular attention is drawn to erotic sculptures, which are considered a symbol of spiritual unity and love. The courtyard of the temple is decorated with columns carved from stone, each of which is unique in its design. The temple sanctuary houses a statue of Vishnu showcasing his various avatars. The Lakshmana Temple is not just an architectural marvel, but also an important testimony to the religious, cultural, and social life of ancient India. Returning to this place, we plunge into the mysterious world of the past, full of deep philosophical and cultural knowledge.
The Witch, the Dwarf, and the Magician's Pyramid. The ancient Mayan city of Uxmal, located on the Yucatan Peninsula, is a place where unique architecture and ancient mythology merge with otherworldly landscapes. One of the most mysterious structures here is the Pyramid of the Magician, a structure amazing in its shape and significance. This place is surrounded by magical legends, in particular the story of a dwarf and a witch who supposedly built the magician's pyramid. This legend exists only in oral retellings of local residents, since it is not recorded in ancient texts. Variations of this story are passed down from generation to generation. The story was first recorded in the 19th century by John Lloyd Stevens, an American explorer who published his observations in a book about his travels to the Yucatan. One day he heard this story from a local resident. According to legend, in the place where the pyramid now stands, there was once the hut of an old witch who wanted to have an heir. Using magic, she created a childlike creature from the egg. This baby quickly grew to the size of an adult, but remained the size of a dwarf. The witch was proud of him and dreamed that he would become a great ruler. On her instructions, the dwarf challenged the local king to a duel. The test proposed by the king seemed impossible, but each time the dwarf coped with them using the cunning and magic of his mother. For example, the king demanded that the dwarf build a house taller than all the buildings in the city in one night. By morning, a majestic pyramid rose on the site of the old hut. The final test was that the king and the dwarf had to break wood over each other's heads. The witch prepared her son by placing a protective spell on his head. The king was unable to harm the dwarf, and he in turn took the king's life with his blow. So the dwarf became the new ruler of Uxmal. In some versions of this legend, the dwarf is the god Itzamama, who used magic to build the pyramid. These stories may have emerged as an attempt to explain the unusual shape and structure of the Pyramid of the Magician, which archaeologists believe took 3 centuries to build.
Over 100,000 years old. Researchers continue to unravel the mysteries of our evolution, now discovering unusual 115,000-year-old footprints in northern Saudi Arabia. The tracks, preserved in a former mud pit in the middle of the Nafud Desert, have astonished scientists by appearing in a place where such ancient human tracks were not expected. The tracks are estimated to belong to early Homo sapiens rather than Neanderthals, confirming the migration routes of human ancestors in a changing climate. Thanks to a surprising combination of factors, the absence of strong winds and the local climate, the structure of the tracks has remained virtually intact, allowing them to be accurately dated and reconstructed as a short-term stopover by Lake Alatar during a dry period. The site appears to have served as a rest and watering place rather than a permanent settlement, as evidenced by the lack of tool or hunting traces. Some scientists believe that these tracks fit into the general migration route by which Homo sapiens moved from Africa to Eurasia. The new findings change our view of migration routes and clearly demonstrate how nature can carefully preserve the chronicle of life. Ancient tunnels found near Murmansk. Hidden under the city of Murmansk in Russia is a whole system of ancient tunnels. In winter, the entrance to the tunnels turns into a crystal ice kingdom. Rumor has it that these catacombs stretch for tens of kilometers and the height of the ceilings in them reaches up to 12 meters. And what is interesting, they have been known for a long time. They are mentioned even in the text of the 16th century. These tunnels, according to legend, belong to the ancient magical people of the Chakli. They knew all the secrets of the land and the extraction of valuable stones, helped the locals, and, according to rumors, disappeared underground without accepting the new rules of life. Pyramids. A group of researchers have discovered in Antarctica none other than 3 pyramids, and it seems that they were created not by nature but by the hands of our distant ancestors. Antarctica is now the edge of the world covered in ice, but once it was an oasis full of life where even dinosaurs walked, and our finds there are proof of this. In total, 8 researchers from America and Europe went on the expedition. They found 2 pyramids 16 kilometers from the coast, and the third right by the water. The question arises, why don't we hear about it in the news? Many argue that this information is hidden so that we are not distracted from the usual idea of the past. What will we see when the glaciers melt? Could it be that under the ice, in addition to the pyramids, another sphinx is hiding? What do you think about it? Write your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Crocodile Stone. And now we will go to the amazing mountains of Laos, where the ancient ruins of Wat Phu Temple are hidden. Among this temple, archaeologists found one very strange thing, a huge boulder with a carving resembling a crocodile. But even more interesting is that this recess is the size of a man. Many people think that this stone was used as an altar for human sacrifices. If this is true, then such rituals could go back to the time of Chinla, the ancient empire that ruled these lands. According to legend, every year when the frangipani petals began to fall, King Chenle prayed to the spirits of the mountains and offered rice wine to 2 of the most beautiful girls. Then the girls were sacrificed to the gods. Such sacrifices are described in the 6th century history of the Sui. All this time, a community far from the big cities has preserved this story, which indicates its possible authenticity. However, it is not known what role crocodile rock played in these rituals. This unique carving makes it even more mysterious. Nothing like this has been found in the ruins of Laos and Cambodia. And here is the question: if the crocodile rock was not used for sacrifices, then what was it for? Pyramids of Meroe. Everyone knows the huge pyramids of Egypt, but Sudan has the largest collection of these amazing ancient structures. What a twist, huh? Sudan is often associated with civil wars and disease, but this country is a treasure trove for lovers of culture and history. At the top of the list are the pyramids of Meroe. They were built in Nubia, one of the first civilizations of ancient Africa, and served as a place of eternal rest for the last pharaohs of the ancient city of Meroe. Over 200 pyramids, located on 3 sites, were built as royal graves for 40 kings and queens who ruled the kingdom of Nubia Kush for more than 1,000 years. This period is known as the Meroitic period. Unlike the pyramids of Giza, the pyramids of Meroe are built of granite and sandstone and are characterized by small bases and steep slopes. Many artifacts are found inside the tombs: ceramics, glass, quivers with arrows. Even despite the destruction, the pyramids retain their magic, especially at dawn and dusk. Bas-reliefs depicting scenes from ancient Egyptian mythology indicate a strong cultural influence. Finding in the desert of Saudi Arabia. Long ago, long before the Egyptian pyramids and Stonehenge were built, people were creating amazing carvings of animals. Huge 3D drawings of camels and horses on rocks have been found in the desert of Saudi Arabia. At first, scientists thought they were 2,000 years old, but it turned out that they are even older than Stonehenge. All this happened in Neolithic times when there were trees and lakes around. People had not yet tamed camels and may have hunted them, and the drawings on the rock are a kind of meeting place for ancient people. To create such images, people used flint tools and spent 10 to 15 days on each of them. The carved figures seem to be layered on top of each other, which indicates the complexity of their creation. Scholars initially made a mistake with the age of these drawings because dating stone carvings is not an easy task. However, after conducting various studies, they found out that the drawings are older than 8,000 years. This is much older than the 5,000-year-old Stonehenge. Thus, these ancient drawings of camels and horses in the desert are some of the oldest large-scale, three-dimensional depictions of animals in the world. The scariest tribe.
Traveler and blogger Daniel Pino caused quite a shock when he posted a video of the Wai tribe from Papua New Guinea. In the video, which has collected more than 17 million views, he shows an encounter with silent tribesmen guarding a sacred waterfall. The Wai people wear costumes made of mud and clay, and their masks resemble spiritual birds with long noses and menacing expressions. They protect the waterfall from strangers, and they are quite scary. However, viewers have doubted the authenticity of the video. Some commenters claim that the scariest tribe would not let a blogger so close. Others joke that their costumes look like fashionable outfits. Despite the controversy, the video has attracted tourists to the region. Travel agencies now list Wai as a tourist destination, offering guests eco-lodges and an introduction to the tribe's culture. What do you think? Is this tribe real, or is it really another way to attract naive tourists? Write your opinion in the comments under the video. New alien mummies. In 2017, something unusual was discovered in a Peruvian cave. A dried-out Voldemort-like figurine with 3 fingers and an elongated skull attracted the attention of the entire world. An army of experts, including journalist and ufologist Jaime Maussan, were the first to study it. He even claimed that there were rare metals and alloys inside the mummies, like space implants. While scientists were arguing, the mummies found friends. 2 new finds, nicknamed Paloma and Antonio, amazed everyone. 3 fingers, slanted eyes, and an age of about 1,500 years. CT scans showed that their organs were similar to human ones. Traces of a knife blow were found on Antonio's body, and remnants of hair were found on Paloma. Hairy aliens are something new. Giant fishing channels. Archaeologists have made a sensational discovery. 4,000-year-old fishing channels created by the precursors of the Mayan civilization have been discovered in Belize, in the territory of the modern Crooked Tree Nature Reserve. Using drone data and Google Earth images, the researchers revealed a complex network of earthen channels that stretch for several kilometers through marshy areas. These unique zigzagging channels indicate that people were already actively modifying the landscape at that time. Around the channels, archaeologists found serrated points that were probably used to catch fish, such as catfish, as well as reservoirs for storing the catch. It is believed that the channels were built about 4,000 years ago by semi-sedentary peoples on the coast of Yucatan and were used for more than 1,000 years. This coincides with the formative period when the Maya began the transition to sedentary agriculture and the formation of their unique culture. Major landscape changes such as these canals preceded the construction of the great Mayan temples, roads, and pyramids, and became the foundation of their cultural development. These canals not only provided food, but also contributed to population growth and dietary diversity. Archaeologists believe that the knowledge and experience of these early peoples played an important role in the emergence of the great Mayan civilization, linking it to older traditions. Log coffin culture. An ancient legacy left by a culture that flourished in northwestern Thailand is surprising archaeologists with its unique burial customs. Some 40 burial sites where people found their final rest in teak coffins decorated with intricate designs testify to a highly developed Iron Age culture. Researchers from Germany and Thailand analyzed the DNA of ancient people to uncover connections between different communities. Between 2300 and 1000 BC, a mysterious culture flourished in Mae Hong Son province. DNA analysis of 33 ancient people from 5 coffins found that genetic relatedness played a key role in burial traditions, highlighting the importance of family ties in choosing a burial site. The study was a breakthrough in Southeast Asian archaeology, providing the first analysis of genetic and cultural relationships at the level of ancient communities. Despite the difficulty of preserving DNA in tropical climates, scientists have identified 2 major genetic lineages linked to agriculture, indicating deep connections to the Yangtze and Yellow River valleys in China. Ajanta Caves, India. In the mysterious depths of western India on the steep slopes of the gorge hides one of the greatest wonders of ancient art, the Ajanta Caves. These 30 rock-cut caves have served as a place of worship for Buddhists for centuries. The walls and ceilings of the caves are decorated with exquisite religious paintings that illustrate the life of the Buddha and various Buddhist legends. The oldest of these caves are believed to date back to the 2nd century BC. The bright and detailed drawings are magnificent in their own way and testify to the high level of skill of ancient artists. Ajanta Caves are not just a monument of ancient art, but also a bridge between the past and the present, allowing us to look into the soul of ancient India. The world's oldest alphabet. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest alphabet dating back over 4,000 years in Syria. This unique find was made in the tomb of el-Mara, one of the oldest cities in the Middle East. The clay cylinders engraved with symbols date back to 2400 BC, making them about 500 years older than all known alphabets. According to the researchers, the inscriptions on the cylinders were likely used as labels to indicate the contents of the vessels, their owners, or their origin. Although the symbols have not yet been deciphered, radiocarbon dating has confirmed their age, dating back to the early Bronze Age. Previously, it was believed that the alphabet arose around 1900 BC in Egypt or its surroundings. But these discoveries are forcing us to rewrite history. The alphabet revolutionized writing, making it accessible to people outside the royal nobility. It changed not only the ways of communication, but also thinking, interaction between people, and the transfer of knowledge. The discovery was the result of 16 years of excavations by an international team of scientists. In addition to the cylinders, skeletons, gold and silver jewelry, a spearhead, ceramics, and utensils were found in the tomb. These discoveries show how ancient cultures developed writing, forming the basis of modern languages. Rapa Nui statues. Easter Island, located in the southeastern Pacific Ocean at the edge of the Polynesian Triangle, is home to nearly 1,000 monumental statues created by the ancient Rapa Nui people. The moai figures were carved from volcanic tuff in the Ranyo Raraku quarry, and many of them remain there today. However, a significant portion of the statues were moved and installed on special stone platforms called ahu along the coast of the island. The moai are notable for their disproportionately large heads, which make up about a third of the total height of the statue. These legless monuments range in height from 2 to 10 meters, although the largest unfinished statue remains in the quarry and reaches 21 meters. The moai were considered the embodiment of ancestral spirits and played an important role in the ritual life of the Rapa Nui people. It is still unclear how exactly the ancient inhabitants of the island moved these giant sculptures across the rugged terrain. There are hypotheses that they used ropes and ingenious technologies to walk the statues to their places of installation. The moai, facing the villages, probably symbolized the protection and strength of the ancestors watching over their descendants.
It existed. Until recently, scientists believed that the grandiose project to build the capital of Assyria, Dur-Sharrukin, Khorsabad, froze in a half-finished form after the death of King Sargon II. However, new geophysical research proves the opposite. The city was completed and actively functioning. Archaeologists used the magnetometry method, which allowed them to discover the remains of an impressive 127-room villa, probable royal gardens, and a water gate, as well as other large structures. All these discoveries indicate that Khorsabad was a thriving center beyond the main palace. Conceived by Sargon II himself in 713 BC as the Fortress of Sargon, the city did not sink into oblivion after his death. New data contradicts the long-standing opinion about the unfinished project and reveals the hidden life of the ancient capital. Work resumed in 2017 after the area was liberated from ISIS. Led by the French archaeological mission, the team used a high-precision magnetometer to visualize underground structures without expensive excavations. It turned out that Khorsabad, contrary to long-held doubts, served as a full-fledged capital of Assyria, and now modern discoveries are revealing even more about the scale and wealth of the ancient empire. People of an unknown civilization. In the tropical forests of Brazil, in the state of Rondônia, archaeologists have recorded rare footage of people from the isolated Masaco tribe. This tribe, discovered in the 1990s, categorically avoids contact with the outside world and carefully guards its lands, setting up deadly traps made of wooden spikes. These spikes are so strong that they can puncture tractor tires. The Masaco are one of 28 tribes in the Amazon that are completely cut off from civilization. Scientists have installed cameras in the jungle to study them without invading them. Researcher Algair has been monitoring the tribe since 1992, and thanks to his work, it has been possible to stop deforestation in their territory. Early attempts to contact isolated peoples often ended tragically due to outbreaks of disease. Therefore, the Masaco rejected any offerings, tools, utensils, weapons. They left only sharp thorns at the meeting places, warning strangers that the invasion was undesirable. After the end of contacts and the protection of their lands, the tribe's population increased. In the 90s, about 90 people lived here. Now, 200, 250. Scientists have made maps of their paths and camps, recorded their nomadic farming techniques on satellites. The tribe burns down the savanna and then moves there during the rainy season. The Masako differ from other tribes in their long bows, up to 3 meters. Anthropologists still do not understand how they shoot from them. Their language is unique and not understood even by other indigenous peoples. Researchers note the number of Masako is growing, which means that sooner or later they will encounter civilization. But history shows that such contacts rarely end well. Sigiriya Fortress, Sri Lanka. In the heart of Sri Lanka, on top of a massive stone plateau, rises the ancient fortress of Sigiriya. This place, surrounded by legends, is one of the most striking architectural and cultural sites of the island. It is believed that Sigiriya was built in the 5th century AD by King Kasyapa as a royal residence. The ascent to the top is accompanied by passing through the majestic lion's paws, a symbol of power and authority. On the walls of the mountain, amazing frescoes depicting the girls of the clouds, mysterious beauties, whose history is still controversial among scientists, have been preserved. Also at the top are gardens and pools, demonstrating the level of engineering of the ancient builders. Sigiriya is not only a historical heritage, but also a place of meditation and inspiration. The view from the top of the Sri Lankan jungle is an unforgettable sight, reminiscent of the power of nature and human culture. Ancient metropolis in Serbia. In the area of the Tamas River in Vojvodina, Serbia, archaeologists have discovered the remains of an ancient settlement covering an area of 13 hectares. This Neolithic city was surrounded by protective ditches, indicating its importance and scale. The work was carried out jointly by specialists from various European scientific institutes who used the latest equipment for geophysical research. These studies helped reveal the existence of a previously unknown metropolis that existed here about 7,000 years ago. Artifacts discovered indicate that the settlement was associated with the Vinca culture, ancient inhabitants of southeastern Europe who lived there between 5,400 and 4,500 BC. The size and structure of the settlement are impressive, and geophysical data show its structure in detail. The metropolis probably suffered from a major fire which left behind many burnt houses. This could have been the result of a raid or disaster, after which the settlement was abandoned. In addition, the evidence found suggests the presence of at least 4 defensive ditches, indicating a high risk of attack at that time. Sacsayhuaman. This is a majestic fortress located at an altitude of 3,701 meters on the northern outskirts of Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire in Peru. Built in the 15th century during the reign of the great Sapa Inca Pachacuti and his successors, Sacsayhuaman is considered one of the most outstanding achievements of Inca engineering and architecture. The complex was strategically located to protect Cusco and its inhabitants, as well as to serve as an important ceremonial center. The most impressive feature of Sacsayhuaman is its massive walls built from giant blocks of gray limestone. These boulders, some of which weigh more than 100 tons, were skillfully hewn and fitted with astonishing precision without the use of any mortar. Despite the enormous size and weight of the stones, the joints between them are so tight that not even a knife blade can fit between the blocks. This demonstrates the incredible skills and knowledge of the Incas in the field of construction, which continues to inspire admiration and mystery among scientists and engineers. In addition, the structure of Sacsayhuaman has a zigzag shape, which adds an additional level of complexity to its construction and suggests a deliberate strategic and symbolic significance. The fortress was used not only for defense but also for religious and state ceremonies, making it an important spiritual and cultural center. Antikythera mechanism. It is impossible not to mention the most unique archaeological discovery, which many consider to be the first known analog computer, the Antikythera mechanism. This complex device was created to predict astronomical events such as planetary positions and solar eclipses, and could track cycles including the 4-year period of the Olympic Games. It also allowed for the accurate calculation of lunar phases and solar years. Its functionality and complexity are astounding, considering that it was created more than 2,000 years ago between 150 and 100 BC. The Antikythera mechanism was discovered in 1901 in the wreckage of an ancient ship that sank near the Greek island of Antikythera. Its discovery was a real sensation, since the mechanism consists of many bronze gears and wheels, which makes it incredibly complex for its time. The largest gear in the device has a diameter of about 13 centimeters, and the overall design indicates a high level of skill of ancient engineers. Scientists continue to study the artifact to this day, using modern technology such as X-rays and 3D scanning to uncover all of its functions. The Antikythera mechanism is considered evidence that the ancient Greeks possessed knowledge and technology that was lost for centuries after. Ceramic drainage system. 4,000 years ago, the rains in China were so strong that up to 50 centimeters of water could fall in a month. But the Chinese of that time did not sit idly by. They built an awesome drainage system to fight this water madness. Each house in Pinglientai village had its own mini-ditch, and these grooves were there for a reason. They ensured the safety of every inhabitant from the water element. And in the squares and in public places, giant ditches were laid which were connected to ceramic pipes. These pipes, like a puzzle, were assembled from separate sections and directed water away from the settlement. And most importantly, these antique pipes are still in great shape. Lost City of Gold. Egyptologists expected to find the tomb of the famous pharaoh Tutankhamun, but instead they discovered something incredible, an entire city lost in the sands of time. Unexpectedly for themselves, they unearthed the ancient capital founded by Tutankhamun's grandfather, Pharaoh Amenhotep III. The city was built of silt bricks and was a complex labyrinth. Clay wine jugs found in the city had hieroglyphs that told the story of its founder. It was Pharaoh Amenhotep III. In addition to bricks with the mark of the pharaoh, they also found amulets and even goldfish. Round man-made object found at the bottom of the Sea of Galilee. In the depths of Lake Kinneret in Israel, a huge ball with a diameter of about 50 meters and an age of 4,000 years was discovered. Who, when, and why made it is still a mystery. Researchers from Tel Aviv University and Ariel University tirelessly try to unravel this mystery. They even offered a fresh hypothesis that could possibly explain the origin of this mysterious object. After a detailed study using sonar and analysis of bottom sediments, scientists determined that this giant ball, made from large fragments of basalt, is located at a depth of about 12 meters. Previously, scientists believed that this could be the biblical well of Miriam, the sister of the prophet Moses, who helped the Jews survive in the desert. But now researchers are proposing an entirely new idea. Remember the legend of Akkad, the great hunter with a magical bow who was killed by a jealous goddess? This legend says that the father searched for the body of his son for a long time, found it, and buried it in the sea. Not in any sea, but in the Sea of Galilee. Now scientists want to understand what is hidden inside this giant ball. To do this, they are going to conduct underwater research using an ultrasound machine. Ancient Towers of China. In the foothills of the Himalayas, there are amazing stone towers. Some of them are used by local residents as stables and barns, while others are simply abandoned. They started talking about the towers only in 1998, when the French researcher Frédéric Daragon drew attention to them. Frédéric studied these mysterious towers for 5 whole years. She sought information about them from local residents and Buddhist monasteries, but found nothing. As a result, she found references to the towers in Chinese chronicles and records of European travelers of the 19th century. It turns out that the foothills of the Himalayas have long been inhabited by tribes who lived in isolation from each other. Their languages and dialects developed separately, so the history of the towers may have been forgotten. Himalayan towers are unique in their strength. They withstand earthquakes thanks to a mixture of stone, brick, and wood. The towers have different shapes: square, polygonal, and even star-shaped with 12 peaks. They are 600, 1,000 years old, and some are even older. Frederick suggested that some of the towers served as a symbol of wealth. The inhabitants of the wealthy villages that traded with China could build them as a demonstration of their wealth. Other towers may have been watchtowers, as they stand near trade routes and the entrance to them is at a height of several meters. Unique wagon in Russia. Imagine a car made by hand from wood. Instead of wheels, massive wooden discs. Instead of a body, a lattice of intertwined twigs. It is curious, but such a wagon was found by archaeologists in the Rostov region. It was buried in the grave of a 50-year-old man who lived in the 23rd century BC. You will probably ask, how could such an ancient wagon survive? Well, we're just lucky here. The coolest part of the wagon, the frame, that is, the running gear, has been preserved quite well. And you know what's interesting? The masters of those times very carefully selected wood for every detail. For example, the frame was made from maple and the wheels were made from oak. Super deep research even showed that all the trees were native. This means that the wagon was made right there. Our ancestors cut down trees in the forest that was nearby and used them to create their vehicles. The coolest thing about this story is that the ancient inhabitants of these places knew how to work with wood, weave from twigs, and all this with the help of simple bronze tools. So guys, the ancient nomads were not quite as savages as we could imagine. They skillfully used all available resources and created completely unique things. Ruins of ancient civilizations. Captain Robert Scott and his crew come face to face with an ancient civilization behind the ice wall of Antarctica. They found traces of antediluvian time and even filmed them. Can you imagine what it is like to see the ruins of an ancient city, pyramids, columns, and statues in the heart of Antarctica? This ancient civilization may even be older than the ones we learn about in school. Confirmation of this is a map of 1531 where Antarctica is shown without ice. Strange, because according to our history, Antarctica was discovered only in 1820 by Russian explorers. Did you know that the North and South Poles have reversed 171 times in the last 76 million years? And the last time it happened was about 12,000 years ago. This explains why all the secrets of Antarctica today are hidden under a kilometer layer of ice. According to recent reports, under Antarctica there is a huge network of passages and tunnels at a depth of 4 kilometers. Artifact of an unknown civilization. How about a journey into the past, where archaeological finds cast doubt on everything we know about our history? It all started in February 1961. 3 adventurers, Wallace Lane, Virginia Maxey, and Mike Mikesell, set off on a hike up Mount Cazo to enrich their collection of antiquities. Imagine their surprise when among ordinary rocks they found a stone that simply could not be there. A day later, Michael decided to work on the stone and discovered something incredible. Inside the stone there was a ceramic cylinder, and inside the cylinder there was a metal rod, which for some reason reacted to a magnet. And inside, fragments of fossilized shells and pebbles were found. The friends showed the find to a geologist they knew, who after a detailed examination said, "This stone, in his opinion, is at least 500,000 years old. Can you imagine 500,000 years? If so, then our discovery rewrites the entire history of human development. After all, how to explain the metal elements inside such an ancient stone?" Unfortunately, we do not have a detailed description of this study as well as the name of the geologist. But one thing we know for sure, the stone was studied by creationist Ron Cayley. He took an X-ray and discovered that the rod had a spring. So maybe it was some ancient electrical mechanism. But who created it and why? Mermaid from India. Not many people have heard of the archaeological site of Chandraketugarh in India, which is located about 35 kilometers from Kolkata. Chandraketugarh was a prosperous port city involved in international trade where people lived since 400 BC before 1250 AD. Today, only the ruins of a brick Buddhist temple from the 10th century remain on this site. Interest in Chandraketugarh arose due to the many terracotta artifacts dating back to the Shunga period, that is 200–100 BC. Most of them were stolen and taken abroad, and only a few fragments survived in Indian museums. Although the complex was discovered in 1906, the Archaeological Survey of India, under British control, did not carry out excavations here. Many of the stolen items are now in museums around the world, such as the Metropolitan. 2 terracotta plates depict a mermaid, a rather rare image in Indian culture. In one, a mermaid swims by a lake, holding something that looks like a mirror or a flower. People on the shore look at her as if she was a miracle. The great chief arrived in a chariot to see this creature. On another, a mermaid was caught in a net by fishermen. People wave at her and she answers them without showing any fear. Looking at these reliefs, I wondered, are they not a reflection of ancient legends or real events that took place in Chandraketugarh 2,200 years ago? Perhaps mermaids were not a figment of the imagination, but real sea creatures in ancient times? Write in the comments under the video. Do you believe in the existence of mermaids or something similar? It's no wonder that the depths of the seas and oceans have not yet been explored. 12 painted tombs of the grandson of Genghis Khan. Imagine that you are a brave archaeologist and you have just made an amazing find in the eastern part of China, in the Shandong province. Your team has discovered as many as 12 ancient tombs, decorated with breathtaking paintings and carvings. Their age is about 700 years. These tombs are the real treasures of the Yuan dynasty, founded by the Mongol Khan Kublai Khan, who was the grandson of the great conqueror Genghis Khan. It is important to note that this find has become one of the most significant for this part of China. According to an inscription found in the burial complex, the tombs belong to the Guo family. But the most surprising thing was discovered by archaeologists in one of the tombs, where there were 2 burial chambers. There, magnificent paintings and frescoes made of carved bricks awaited them. These designs were hand-carved with chisels and wooden hammers. Until now, on these frescoes you can see herons and tree branches, symbols of good luck in Chinese culture. But that is not all. More than 60 items were found in the tombs, including earthenware and porcelain dishes, bronze mirrors, copper coins, and other valuable artifacts. This will give scientists new insights into the culture and production of porcelain during the Yuan dynasty. The village, 150,000 years old. Let's imagine ourselves in the world quite a long time ago, about 150,000 years ago. We are in Africa, the place where humans as we know them today were first born. But even today, we have many questions about how this magical story took place. Recent archaeological discoveries in West Africa help us with this, like wonderful cheat sheets on an exciting journey into the past. Scientists have discovered a settlement in West Africa which is about 150,000 years old. Stone tools have been found here that are believed to be among the oldest crafted by Homo sapiens. Imagine, these tools were used by people as much as 140,000 years ago, much longer than other groups of people. And you know what is the most amazing thing? People in Africa appeared about 300,000 years ago. They used stone tools, which are called Middle Stone Age tools, and used them until 60,000 years ago. So why didn't people in West Africa change their technology for so long? Some scientists suggest that when people began to move to Europe, they had to adapt to new conditions and a changing climate. Perhaps this influenced their technology. And a fact for dessert, people began to make stone tools even before the advent of Homo sapiens. We have already talked about the 1.2 million year old workshop. And another amazing discovery, some stone tools can even be made by monkeys. So don't be surprised if next time you are shown a stone tool made by a monkey. Ancient Roman sundial. Guys, are you ready to be surprised? Now I will tell you about an amazing artifact from ancient Rome, a bronze sundial in the form of pork hams. Yes, you heard it right. This amazing item was found in the 18th century at the famous Villa of the Papyri in Herculaneum. It was nicknamed pork clock or prosciutto clock, Italian for ham. The bronze ham shows a curvilinear table that helped measure the length of the shadow. The vertical columns indicate the names of the Roman months, and the horizontal lines indicate the number of hours from sunrise to sunset. Unfortunately, the pointer, gnomon, broke off and was lost. But in 2016, scientists created a copy of the clock using a 3D printer and added a gnomon tail to the ham. The researchers conducted experiments and found that the clock works quite well. It may seem that the accuracy of the clock is not high, but the Romans did not need to know the time to the nearest minute. Moreover, these clocks were more of a status item, like modern expensive Swiss watches. People wanted to show that they have such a thing and not just tell the time. You may ask, how did the Romans point the clock at the sun without a compass? The answer is simple. They set the vertical plane of the clock directly to the sun. Even in the distant past, people created interesting and unusual things that boggle our imagination even now. Atlantis at the bottom of the Caribbean. June 5th, 8,500 years ago, time 1 p.m. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a mountain-sized asteroid crashes into the Earth. Boom! And its 5 billion tons heat the waters of the Atlantic to a boil. According to one scientist from Germany, this is how the death of Atlantis happened. A lost civilization, which they say was flooded by waves of a giant shaft as high as Mount Everest. The crash site is now called the Bermuda Triangle. Previously, scientists thought that Atlantis was somewhere in the Caribbean near the island of Bimini. They said that the Atlanteans were so smart that they even knew how to create crystals of fire for energy. But it seems that one of these crystals exploded and led to the death of civilization. Skeptics, of course, will say that all this is nonsense. But what about the numerous underwater finds, such as strange pyramids and marble buildings? Ritual cave of ancient necromancers. Researchers found ancient oil lamps, axes, and even human skulls 30 kilometers from Jerusalem in the Teomim cave in the Judean mountains. But the real magic and mysticism is yet to come. This cave was discovered back in 1873. Inside it hide underground corridors, a source of water which is credited with special healing properties, and many artifacts. Researchers suggest that this cave was a secret hideout for necromancers. Necromancers are people who tried to contact the souls of the dead using death magic. In the Roman Empire, their activities were banned, but they still continued their rites, hiding in such secluded places as the Teomimus cave. The found objects were often used in magical rituals where people tried to contact the spirits of their ancestors through fire and metal. Lamps and other items were hidden in narrow cracks in the cave walls, suggesting that they were placed there on purpose. According to scientists, mystical rites, predictions of the future, and possibly even sacrifices were held in the cave. The cave was a kind of portal to the world of spirits. Time of troubles in Russia. The eruption of the Huayna Putina volcano in Peru on February 19, 1600, influenced one of the darkest periods in Russian history, the Time of Troubles. This period coincided with the Little Ice Age, when solar activity decreased and the Gulf Stream changed. However, the decisive role in climate change was played by the volcanic eruption, which threw a huge amount of ash into the atmosphere, which led to a sharp, cold snap. The summer of 1601 in Russia was abnormally cold and rainy, which is why the harvest did not ripen. Frost hit unusually early, destroying crops. The next 2 years were just as harsh. Torrential rains and snow fell in the summer. The price of bread increased 18 times, which led to famine and mass deaths. In 1604 in Moscow, even in the summer, people traveled by sleigh and bread cost 25 times more than in well-fed times. Tsar Boris Godunov tried to cope with the crisis by banning speculation in grain and organizing its free distribution. However, the rich kept grain stocks, ignoring the Tsar's decrees. Godunov also tried to ease the situation of the peasants by allowing them to leave the lands of their masters, but the nobility resisted this. The peasants began to blame the Tsar, seeing God's punishment in the disasters. Popular unrest intensified. In 1605, Boris Godunov died under mysterious circumstances, and his son Fyodor took the throne. However, Fyodor and his mother were soon killed, which led to the Time of Troubles. It ended only in 1613 when Mikhail Romanov, the founder of a new dynasty, ascended the throne. This is how a volcanic eruption in South America affected a country that was thousands of kilometers away, and created a terrible crisis and famine for several years. Leave your thumbs up, kind comments, and subscribe to the channel. All this helps in promoting the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.